Benjamin Impossible. Chapter 1. The Sky Ninja. "We're all going to die!" the terrified man screamed from the roof of the burning skyscraper. The pitiful man's face was covered in soot, and his pants looked damp from where he'd peed himself silly. A small crowd of office workers huddled around him, shaking with fear. Others had peed their pants as well. "Don't be melodramatic," a kindly grandmother replied, shielding her eyes from a helicopter's spotlight. She patted the distraught man on the shoulder, pleased that her underwear was still dry. "We're not doomed. We're just going to burn to death when this building goes up in flames." "Why won't those helicopters pick us up? There's plenty of space to land." "Too much smoke and hot air rising up the sides of this tower. Those whirligigs can't get too close without spinning out of control." The office workers looked fearfully over the edge of the rooftop at the chaos below. Smoke poured from the building, and the night roared with a cacophony of sirens and honking horns. The lower floors of the building were aflame, and the firemen's ladders couldn't reach high enough to save them. They were trapped. "We won't burn," an old man said, coughing through the smoke. "We'll be crushed to death when this building collapses beneath us." The grandmother blinked with surprise. "Do you think so?" "Oh, sure," the old man replied, rubbing his eyes. "This building is 20 stories high. When the fire guts the lower floors, the support beams will warp and the whole structure will come down. Just you wait and see." "That is a relief," the grandmother said. She reached into her purse and popped a peppermint candy into her mouth. "I'd much rather fall to my death than be burned alive." "Are you serious?" "You have to be optimistic. Every cloud has a silver lining." "What's up there?" someone screamed, pointing to the sky above. The desperate crowd looked up toward the heavens. The fire cast an orange glow upon the low-lying clouds. Within those flickering mists, they could see an object falling toward them. "Hey, there's something up there in the clouds." "It's a bird!" one of the trapped men yelled, panic causing his voice to rise. "That's a blue-tailed warbler. I saw one of them in a book once. It probably died from all the smoke." "That's not a bird, you numbskull!" wailed a woman. "That's an airplane. It's taking pictures for the evening news." The grandmother wiped soot from her bifocals and squinted upward into the smoky sky, her myopic vision coming back into focus. "No, you're both wrong. That's a person." "A person? Don't be ridiculous." The grandmother looked affronted. "I had my cataracts fixed by Dr. Sigmund Winkelstream of Mount Einstein University. My vision is perfect. I tell you, that's a person up there. Maybe the Air Force sent a rescue squad?" "Nope," the grandmother said as she rubbed her chin. "That looks like a child falling through the air. I believe he's wearing black pajamas." The crowd gawked as the figure dropped through the smoke and clouds. The mysterious stranger wore black, skin-tight clothes and appeared to drift down through the haze with the aid of a small parachute. "Look out below!" the skydiver yelled as he crashed into the terrified crowd, knocking several men over. The group surged back in confusion, giving the newcomer room as he climbed back to his feet and dusted himself off. "Did you see that?" yelled the new arrival, who everyone could now see was a young boy. "That was a perfect landing. I jumped from over 8,000 feet and landed on this burning building. That takes some serious skill, you know." "What's the big idea?" said a terrified man. "This building is on fire and we're trapped up here. And you have a parachute?" The boy pushed back his blonde hair and winked at the man towering over him. "Chill out, dude. I'm sorry I landed on you." The boy raised an eyebrow and pointed. "Hey, I think you peed your pants." "Chill out," the man roared, stepping forward. "Give me that parachute. I'm jumping off this burning building right now." "You can't steal a parachute from a child. That's awful," the grandmother scolded. "No way, dude. This is my lucky parachute." The boy pushed a button on his watch, and instantly the tiny parachute zipped back into a compartment on the boy's back, out of sight. "Besides, you're too heavy for a parachute this small. It won't generate enough air resistance to compensate for your body. You'd hit terminal velocity and splatter on the sidewalk. Learn some physics, mister." The desperate man rushed the child and grabbed at him with his long arms. The boy dodged, then jumped up to an incredible height, flipping in midair to land feet first on a nearby chimney. The crowd gasped in amazement at this impossible feat of acrobatics. The bemused man spun around looking for the boy. "Where did you go? I'm going to throw you off this building if you don't give me that parachute. The strange boy spoke, balancing precariously on the brickwork above the man. Gee whiz, man. Calm down. What kind of hooligan threatens a little kid? The grandmother shook her head. That is poor manners. Would you like a peppermint, young lad? No thanks, ma'am. I brought my own candy. Get down here! The enraged man screamed, reaching up and attempting to grapple with the child above. The boy shook his head. You're no fun at all. I think you need a nap, Mr. Grumpyhead, before you hurt yourself. With that, the boy removed a small gadget from his pocket, reached down from his ledge, and popped the device into the man's mouth. The angry man stopped screaming, crossed his eyes, and slumped to the ground. The object in his mouth looked suspiciously like a baby's pacifier. The crowd stepped back in fear and surprise. The grandmother only snorted. Did you kill him? That seems a little extreme. The boy looked surprised at this question. What? No, of course not. I just put him to sleep with an ultra-pacifier. The pacifier is coated with a harmless neurotoxin extracted from the Galapagos woolly sea sloth, the laziest animal on the planet. The sedative will down-regulate his reticulum cortex and is guaranteed to induce slumber for several hours. My mother discovered the neurotoxin a few years ago when we were vacationing in the Pacific. She uses the chemical on my little brother when he refuses to take his nap. The mothers in the crowd looked at each other, impressed. The boy looked down at the body, scratching his head. On the other hand, the neurotoxin is also guaranteed to make this fellow poop his pants. But hey, no neurotoxin is perfect. Am I right, folks? The crowd nodded and collectively stepped away from the child. I guess I should introduce myself. The boy did a backflip off the chimney and landed on the ground. He then made an extravagant bow. My name is Benjamin Impossible, and I am here to rescue you. The crowd stood silent, looking back at the boy in confusion. Sirens blared in the distance. Benjamin looked around in surprise. What? You've heard of me, right? Benjamin Impossible? The Boy Wonder? Preteen Magazine's Boy of the Year? The Sky Ninja? Winner of the Franklin County Hot Dog Eating Contest 3 years running? The people looked at each other, shrugging with embarrassment and shaking their heads in confusion. Benjamin sighed and looked around at the assembly. My father is Professor Impossible, inventor of the amazing hyperhelium molecule. My mother is Dr. Impossible and runs Impossible Incorporated. Does any of this ring a bell, people? The group murmured in amazement. Everyone knew of Professor Impossible and his fantastic family. Their family business, Impossible Incorporated, was the largest invention company in the world, responsible for some of the coolest gadgets on the planet. One man spoke up. If your father is Professor Impossible, does that mean you are Charlie Impossible, the child genius? Benjamin scowled at the man, who jumped back, startled. No, I just told you. My name is Benjamin Impossible. Charlie is my little brother. Now the crowd began talking all at once with excitement, hope on their soot-stained faces. Whoa there! Benjamin yelled, holding up his hands. One at a time, please. You there, the follically challenged man with your hand up? What were you asking? A bald man coughed and asked, Is the baby genius here? Is your brother Charlie going to rescue us from this burning building? Benjamin frowned. No, I just told you, I am Benjamin Impossible, the amazingly talented and way cooler older brother. I, Benjamin Impossible, am here to rescue you. The crowd looked worried. One lady whispered to another, Benjamin Impossible? I've never heard of him before. Maybe he was adopted. Benjamin threw up his hands in frustration. Oh, never mind. Let's just get you people to safety. With those words, Benjamin tapped on his wristwatch. A few seconds later, a dark missile shot down from the clouds. The rocket flew down, spewing a contrail of jet smoke behind it. The crowd dove to the rooftop in terror, but Benjamin stood his ground, balanced on the balls of his feet. At the last minute, the boy jumped out of the way. Olay! He yelled. The deadly missile flew by, missing Benjamin by inches. The shape circled back and slowed to a stop, hovering a few feet from the rooftop. Awestruck, the crowd picked themselves up and stared in amazement. The dark missile was a creature. Light reflected from its black armored body. Its inhuman face held two glowing red eyes that stared unblinkingly at the crowd of people. A low growl emanated from its interior. Everyone stepped back from the floating apparition. Don't worry, folks, said Benjamin, knocking on the side of the metal construct. This is just my robotic dog, Noah. He's going to help save you. You've reached the end of Chapter 1. Please consider leaving a like below or maybe a comment. Then continue to Chapter 2, Lightsabers and Lollipoppers.